In other news, the search continues for a 37-year-old woman from Dodge County. Crystal Rash was last seen in public around June 11th, but she was reported missing on the 23rd. Since then, there have been extensive searches. No luck. WMTV's Shannon Ajawan went to the county's administration building this afternoon where the sheriff gave an update on their investigation.
I know people want to help. We'll get to that in a minute on how people can help, but law enforcement are going to be the ones that are going to be doing this search.
Dodge County detectives are having trouble pinpointing 37-year-old Crystal Rash's last known location.
We have deputies, detectives, other law enforcement agencies searching properties, searching right-of-ways, searching various areas around the county.
Sheriff Dale Schmidt says their department is working with both partnering and outside agencies to search for the Clyman native. She has been missing for around 2 weeks.
We've interviewed individuals, family, friends, other contacts, other potential places that she's been.
Sheriff Schmidt emphasized that this is not a death investigation. Their department remains hopeful, and the goal is to bring Crystal back home to her family.
We don't know how the investigation will come to conclusion, and as such, we need to have precautions in place to make sure we maintain chain of custody.
While interested in information about Rash, Sheriff Schmidt says they are not looking for any help in looking for her.
If we have volunteers or others assisting with those searches, we lose that ability to maintain that evidence for an investigation that might be needed.
But with an emergency operations center based around the search, the investigation into where Crystal is continues.
Certainly taking all precautions and making sure we are ready to jump into a different investigation if we need to, but at this time we are still hopeful.
In Dodge County, Shannon Ajawan, WMTV 15 News.